So glad y'all came just to hear me speak this afternoon, right? That's for me, right? I have a couple of questions, rhetorical, I'd like to ask about your future. What will your Social Security income be? Have you thought about how much you'll have to live on, how long that will last you, and will it be enough to supplement your lifestyle when you're ready to retire or finish your working career? I know I kind of sound like a 401k salesman when I ask you those questions, but they really are important questions that we have to ask ourselves individually, and also we have to ask ourselves collectively as a society when it relates to our Social Security program in the United States. My name is Brett Johnson, and I am a graduate student in the Public Administration program here. And Dr. Manabu Saeki was my professor for public finance. And one of the questions he asked on our final exam was, explain the positive and negative aspects of Social Security. And so what you'll see today is a summary of the paper that I presented on the positive and negative aspects of the United States Social Security program. So as an outline of the paper, we had an introduction. I went over the positive aspects, the negative aspects, then a few proposed reform plans, including increasing the retirement age, increasing the tax base, and slowing the indexed growth. And then we'll wrap up with some concluding thoughts. So as an introduction, the Social Security program was established in 1935 as pretty much a direct response to the Great Depression, which was probably the most destitute season Americans had ever experienced in the history of our country as an organized country. It was designed to provide protection against the hardships of severe poverty. It's most well known now for providing retirement benefits that are supported by payroll taxes. So if any of you in the room are working in pretty much any job at this time, a portion of your paycheck, portions of your payroll goes to the federal government to pay current claims on Social Security benefits, and that's just the basic structure of it. There are some important definitions to know when you talk about Social Security. One of them is what we call the normal retirement age, and that is the age at which you receive 100% of your Social Security benefits. For most people, that age is 66 years old, but you can begin receiving some Social Security benefits at around age 62. You can receive about 75% of your benefit if you start receiving it at that age. So it means you can retire early, but you get a little bit less money from your Social Security income. You can also delay retirement, which is incentivized by you can retire up to age 70, and if you delay retirement, you actually get 132% of your Social Security income. So if any of you just feel like you need to keep on working, that's an option as well for right now anyway. So obviously since 1935, a lot has changed from the initial plan for Social Security. It's been expanded gradually over time to include other different benefits that can be paid out for different reasons. More people have been adopted to be eligible for the program over time. There have been some reforms to tighten the belt, and then some of those reforms have been overturned, but the long and short of it is, over the 85-year history, it has expanded significantly. So the $945 billion question is, will Social Security be there for my generation? So to answer that question, we have to look at the positive and negative aspects of Social Security in the United States. When you talk about the positive aspects, really the reason it was formed in the first place as a social insurance program is that it's qualitative in nature. It helps your society essentially increase its standard of living. So one of the areas I point out is that it decreases destitution and dependency. By dependency, I mean dependency of those who are unable to work, depending on other individuals to take care of them, right? Because there's a safety net through the Social Security program, they don't have to depend on their neighbor or their family member to take care of them. They have some form of income if they can't work. And it decreases destitution, obviously, because there's a safety net in place there. It provides the aging and disabled with income. This is really important because for an elderly individual or a disabled individually, your only other option without Social Security, for the most part, is to not participate in the economy. You don't have income, you don't have expenses. So it helps the economy keep churning. And it increases the standard of living in the United States. And the long and short of that is when the poorest of the poor have some form of income, the richest of the rich do better as well. So when the poorest of the poor can take care of themselves, the richer can also do better for themselves as well. And you'll hear it pretty much anywhere you go and talk about policy. In America, our poorest individuals are actually richer than some of the richer than the poorest individuals in more than half of the poorest individuals in the world. And part of that has to do with our safety nets. So on the negative aspects, we obviously these are related to quantitative issues. A lot of times when we talk about the negative aspects of Social Security, it's about cost and the cost burden. And that is partially due to increases in life expectancy over time. Not only have the baby boomers entered into almost mass retirement, and younger generations are not replacing them in the workforce fast enough to provide the tax base, they are also living longer in retirement. So not only are there more people going into retirement, they're getting paid benefits over longer amounts of time than previous generations. Additionally, there's a moral hazard that comes with any social insurance program, meaning that because you and I know that there's a safety net if we break our ankle, we're more likely to participate in activities that is going to result in a broken ankle. That's an essential argument of a moral hazard of Social Security. So it increases the risks, which means that more people end up needing to be on Social Security because they're taking more risks, and it increases, compounds the cost problem of our Social Security program. And lastly, it takes away worker freedom. When you have a certain percentage of your paycheck taken to the federal government to pay out Social Security benefits, you have no options to do anything with that money you earn. Some would say that you would be able to, if you chose, invest it in an individual retirement account or a 401k or whatever you chose to do in your personal choice. So several of the reform plans include increasing the retirement age, increasing the tax base, and slowing index growth. A pro of increasing the retirement age would mean that it would protect Social Security for the future generations, right? So when you increase the normal retirement age from just say 66 to 67, that means that those who would have retired at age 62 early, they can't do that, right? They have to wait till they're age 63 then to get that 70%, 75% of benefits. So you save money primarily on those individuals who are early retiring and are not able to early retire anymore. The con is that some will never see Social Security. Due to the mere mortality rate of people at the age of 62 and 63, they may thousands, almost millions, will never see a benefit from what they paid in Social Security if their retirement age is raised just 1 year. Increasing the payroll taxes is more of a liberal proposal in America, proponents say that it actually not only solves the financial condition of the Social Security program if we increase the tax base that goes into it, but it also would provide more benefits to more people. So it's kind of a double whammy of a benefit if you increase the tax base. Two proposals include increasing the cap on taxable earnings. So right now there's a limit on how much of your money can be taxed as a worker. So it means higher income earners would be paid more. The second is increasing the percentage points that everybody pays in. Those are the two most discussed. And then the con is that it would further erode worker freedom, right? Because more money taken away from you, less options you have to do with money you earn. The third proposal was more moderate. It's about slowing indexed growth. So right now, as a retiree on Social Security, you get cost of living adjustments that are indexed to the consumer price index, which goes up at a rate of about 2 to 3% per year. Most of us in the workforce are not getting 2 to 3% per year in pay increases, right? So that's pretty fast-growing annual adjustments to retirees on Social Security. This approach says we could use a chained index to increase cost of living adjustments for Social Security, which essentially takes account for if the price of cereal goes up, you're not just going to pay necessarily the additional price for the cereal that you've always bought. You might substitute that, right, with a lower cost cereal. And so that real costs don't actually go up at that 2 to 3% rate every year. And that would save money and increase solvency. But the con of that is you as a retiree then could not keep up with the real cost of living if you chose to compare apples to apples. So the conclusion then comes down to projections right now are showing that by 2033, we may have depleted our reserves in our Social Security fund. And by that time, we will only be able to pay out about 77% of benefits for that year. That's by 2033. That was the latest projections that we included in my paper. So financial professionals are now changing how they advise their clients, right? I was asking you about your 401k, your Social Security. People in the financial industry are now saying you need to save more individually because you're not sure if what you've been paying into as a Social Security plan is going to be there for retirement. So many are recognizing clearly that there are challenges to the Social Security program that need to be addressed. And there's all these proposed reform plans, but the problem that we see is that nobody wants to institute reform that affects their personal financial situation. So, as one of the leading scholars, Bruce Shovel, puts it, as we watch and wait, the year of depletion gets closer and closer 1 year at a time. The one thing I leave with on my paper is to say, we do have options as we wait for a major sweeping reform to come through to fix the solvency issues, is we have our democratic bureaucracy if we can keep it, to paraphrase Benjamin Franklin, right? So the Social Security Administration regularly goes through review processes, and they take a look at their rules, their regulations, that may increase or decrease benefits depending on which way they go. And we as citizens have a role to play in that process when they seek public input, when they have public forums. There's actually a lot of opportunities for us as individuals to communicate to the government through our bureaucracy, because it is a democratic bureaucracy. For as efficient or inefficient as you may think it is, you have that opportunity until sweeping reform is passed through Congress and signed into law. So that's a long paper on Social Security in 10 minutes or less, but do we take any questions? Okay, I'll open it up for questions. We're going to go invest more in your 401k now? All right, let's thank our speaker. Thank you.